On my journey, my greatest request is, as I learn to be the author of my own story, may the divine continue to place me in positions to where I can help others do the same and set themselves free. Well, after committing beverage sacrilege and spilling it all down myself and having to change before filming this, good morning. Happy Full Moon Monday and happy July 3rd. It's wonderful to see everybody. I hope you're doing really well. Hope you're doing great. Let's kind of dive into some changes. So many of you saw that I had done a review of Why Do HB90, which was made by the amazing Sarah Cannon, and you can go ahead and find the links to her channels and her website below for Heart Breathings. And yeah, I realized that that was the fourth quarter of a full year, because I started doing HB90 method on a fiscal year, not on a typical calendar year. And I got looking back and I said, wow, while this is probably the first quarter where I was 100% okay not finishing everything on my bucket list to, you know, activate embracingabundance.exe, but I'm okay with it. That's the thing. I'm okay with it. I finished most of my KANBAN. I got to like that 85% goal. For me, if I can get above a B average on completion, I feel okay. If you want to give it like a GPA kind of equivalency or a K-12 grade kind of equivalency. So, what are some other things that I'm carrying over? Well, I actually got to finish one of those things I carried over. I wanted to get my channel closer to being friendlier for that new tier of monetization with the YouTube partnership program. And thanks to all of you, 600-ish people or so, it's holding strong. And August is going to see, hopefully, a lot of changes for the better around this channel. We'll talk about what I'm doing during Camp NaNoWriMo July to prepare for that here in a minute. So what do I absolutely outside of that have to finish? I have a due date, September 18th for wide with ebook and print, and then of course I have just the ebook dropping through my website for books 1 and 2 of the Myrna Annals. I have some other marketing things I need to do to ramp up toward that. You all went ahead and, because I'm about to say something here in a little bit, got this video earlier and combined with another video. Yeah, so Rochelle's trailer dropped yesterday. It's already been viewed over 40 times, which thank you. Everyone seems to absolutely enjoy the side characters in book 1 almost way more than they do the main couple. And in retrospect, that was a risky decision in my part. You know, some people say you want to put your best couple up front, but you stay with Ian and Neftiri throughout the whole series. You get to see them as the youngest of the couples, you know, they've been together the shortest amount of time, kind of really grow and build a history from nothing, whereas Bjorn and Rochelle in book 2, they have a couple hundred years worth of history. Frey and Lee for book 3, same thing. Vovry and Maria, same thing. Hatomi and Gorgor, same thing. So the whole list down the line, you have in the next 4 books couples that are kind of hinted at pre-established. So Ian and Neftiri continue to show up and grow alongside those other stories, even though different couples are stepping forward to be the front of the covers. So I want to make sure that I meet my deadlines for July and for September with getting everything published. What else? I am deciding whether or not I want to do audio chapter recordings. A lot of people gave me feedback with the Kickstarter from book 1 that they absolutely enjoyed listening to chapters 1 and 2 being read aloud, especially considering that we have some names and some terms that if you don't hear them said, you're probably like, I'm not sure if I'm saying them right. That's a fair statement. A lot of authors have said at one time or another, maybe I should record my own audiobooks for that reason. So it has been suggested to me to go ahead and promote them through Ream. I'm checking to see if I should do it through Ream, Substack, or Ko-fi. I've seen people do all three together, and I thought it would be a nice thing to maybe put out a chapter a month, see how it goes, kind of deal, and maybe I'll make it more so as interest builds. I'm torn on doing that though, because even though my plans for Camp NaNoWriMo in July are changing now because of epic plans, that may be changing again. I know I started working on Vitae Elangica book 2 with some of my workshops the last couple of months, but do I want to still do book 1 on Kindle Vella? I wrote book 1 of Vitae Elangica, The Crusaders of Luxander Souls, November of 2021. Yeah, it's been 2 years. It's been almost 2 full years since I completed that. So I've been away from it for a long time, and now I'm wondering, am I purposely finding ways to not getting back to writing it / my own stuff? So that's definitely a concern, especially considering that the first 5 books of the Myrna Annals are pretty much drafted alongside about a third of a spin-off anthology for Arya and the Winged Ones. So I have 5-ish books ready to kind of release and, just wrap up, finish up, and get out to everybody with the Myrna Annals. I am enjoying working on my debut series, finalizing it. I'm starting to feel the drain of not working on something new is the other issue. Especially considering that for Camp NaNoWriMo, instead of making something fiction, I'm considering using that time to make something non-fiction. A lot of you know that for the last 10, 11, 12 years, I've been teaching ELA, ESL, creative writing, and more things to do with being an English/reading teacher, for K-12 here in the U.S. And I announced this past spring that my intent is to leave the K-12 classroom. Well, you can take the teacher out of the classroom, but apparently you can't take my desire to turn other spaces into classroom away. I noticed that the longer I was away from teaching, the more I was enjoying doing my workshops, the more I was enjoying doing one-on-one coaching sessions and working with my editing clients. So yeah, Jenna is considering opening up a little thing that's been hanging up on my wall for a while. Soulbard Academy. So what is Soulbard Academy? I've kind of mentioned it a couple of times over the last few years of being here on authortube, and I think now is really truly the time for me to sit down and talk about it. I want to make a virtual school, hub of classes, learning platform, whatever you want to call it, space where writers who feel that their K-12 traditional education failed them in one form or another, but they still want to write, whether it be script writing, poetry, article writing. I kind of want to go ahead and start making a list of classes that I would have been teaching to my K-12 students anywho, to help all of those authors who are like, my schooling experience did me a disservice, but I love to write, help. I would like to make Soulbard Academy that fill-in, that, I don't want to call it a cog, but it's kind of a cog that is there but needs more oomph. There are classes, there are schools, there are methods of learning how to write readily available by many an author out there. I have a feeling some of them either come at it from a tradition of being a self-taught author, which is okay, or they have like a master's degree in creative writing, something of that nature, or they worked at a newspaper forever and a day, or worked at a publishing house forever and a day, whatever the situation may be. We kind of consider those to be more traditional means of getting to know how to do writing. But I come at teaching writing a completely different way than most people, because I taught it to kids. But my methods are applicable to all ages. Yes, I've taken a lesson, I've taught 6th graders and taught adults. It's the same lesson, it's just their product was more sophisticated in their answer. That's it. I also think that what I'm trying to do is going to be really good for people who have things like dyslexia, dysgraphia, where you didn't quite learn all the tricks of the trade you needed to make your brain help you read and write clearly. And then I want to make sure that people whom are neurodivergent in other ways, if you're like me and you have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar, social anxiety, or if you have a placement on another spectrum such as autism or ADD, ADHD, because I don't consider those two a spectrum, but they're kind of like bipolar, you know, they not lesser sides of another coin, but you get what I mean. You know, it's like they're connected. That's what I'm trying to say. They're connected. I haven't had enough coffee this morning. That's it. So my first set of courses are going to be made using Camp NaNoWriMo's focus method. I wanted to make sure I got book 1 and 2 done first, so that's what this first week of July really is for. And then next week, I'm going to go ahead and start fully making all of the courses. There is going to be one course that is kind of like a freebie, get to know how I teach a little bit better. You all have seen the workshops I run, or if you haven't, playlist, please go check out. But I wanted to give you all a sense of what it is like to have me take you from the beginning of the end to an entire thing across several classes before deciding, do I want to purchase a full course? So the very first class I'm doing is actually Introduction to Starting AuthorTube. It was a popular request because we have a lot of new people in sprinting chats lately who have been whispering, I want to get into writing sprint hosting. I want to get into making my own vlogs, but I don't feel like I have enough, or I don't feel like I'm at a point in my process where I'm worthy of making stuff. We're going to talk all about that in that intro to AuthorTube, getting into AuthorTube. That's coming out in August. So I'm going to go ahead and put out those, and then the next course I'm going to make is Research Methods for Authors. I know a lot of you are like, I hate research. I don't need to do research. Dude, there's a reason why the phrase, you literally cannot make this stuff up, exists, okay? There's stuff that happens when you learn how to be a people watcher through research. Notice how I said that. When you learn how to be a people watcher through research, a lot of your ideas come at you through pure just appreciating everyday life, okay? Some of my funniest humor between the 4 siblings we focus on in books 1 through 5 of the Myrna Annals, Ian, Vovery, Frey, and Hotomy, I have literally stolen a lot of lines from friends or from students just because you literally cannot make this stuff up. It's too good. It's too good. So that's why I think I should start with the basics. I mean, we are going back to 9th grade. And some of you are like, hey, I didn't attend 9th grade in an era when the internet existed. This review might be needed for me because I'm not aware of how much stuff is free without going to a library for it. And many of the times you can find it on your local library's website without even ever attending the actual library these days. Keep that in mind. That depends on their funding. So I want to go ahead and make sure that you all are getting gaps. This is something we talk about a lot in K-12. Where are the gaps in learning for the majority? We're going to focus on those, and then we'll then get into what lesser need would be. I think a lot of people skip research completely in their brainstorming and pre-planning, and I think that's why so many pantsters and plantsters and overzealous plotters shoot themselves in the foot. That's my personal opinion, and I only say that because I watched a bunch of teenagers do it for 10 years, so I assume there's at least, statistically speaking, an equal number of adults doing the same. It's not an unfair assumption. So there's going to be a lot of changes going on around here, and I just really wanted to, I've been saying it a lot, been saying this a lot lately, but I really need to stop and say thank you. Authentically, deeply from the bottom of my heart. The reason why the very first sticky note I've completed on my Kanban board for Q323 is joining Tier 1 of the YouTube Partnership Program. It's all of y'all. I would not be doing this if it were not for you guys. At this point, I think, yeah, I'm doing it for me. Don't get me wrong. I'm doing some of this for me. But on my journey, my greatest request is, as I learn to be the author of my own story, may the divine continue to place me in positions to where I can help others do the same and set themselves free. And on this full moon Monday, that's definitely something I want you to aspire to. Way back when I told a story about Charlotte Wessels, a Dutch singer-songwriter who is just amazing. She's the former lead singer and the best lead singer, in my opinion, of the band Delane, and my husband and I had the pleasure to see her perform with them for a couple of their tours, 2012 through 2016. Every time they would come through either the Fillmore in the DC area or the Soundstage in downtown Baltimore, preferably the Soundstage, we would try to go and see them. And the very last time we did, it was when they toured with Hammerfall, which was a blast. The first time we saw them, they were touring with Camelot, right after Tommy became the current singer. And we hung after to the end of the show because Delane wasn't the front runner. They were, the ones introducing. They were the warm-up band, is what everyone was calling them. And I'm like, oh my God, are you in for a show? Because, Charlotte, you put on a good show, sweetheart. And we got to talk to her. And, of course, my husband admires Charlotte. He adores her. Like, she reached out into the crowd during one of the shows, and he turned into a teenage girl. Oh, my God, she touched my hand. I love that he loved that moment so much. And for me, there's a moment that she recognized a fellow bard. Tatted on my wrist is the title to a song called Control the Storm. And if I were to pick a theme song for Ian and book 2, it's very fitting in many ways, because not only was Ian and Rochelle, whom I will admit is inspired by Charlotte through and through, that's who I hear singing when I hear our song Weaver Rochelle sing, it resonates with me super hard because at a concert, Charlotte stopped and looked and said, hey, you're a writer. I remember you posting about this on Facebook, that you use writing to control your own storm. And I think that's what a lot of us do, whether we intend to or not. Writing is therapeutic. It's a way to put, and I tell this to my K-12 kids all the time, writing is a way to take the thoughts in your head and put them on paper. It makes them tangible. It makes them manageable. It makes it to where you can deal with it in a physical space. And Then, as I grow older, I hear more and more the old time phrase coming back of thoughts become things, thoughts become things. And I don't think Charlotte would ever in a day see this video, but if there's one thing I would love to be able to do, it would be able to get to see her again and just tell her thank you. When she and several other members left Elaine during 2020, kind of surprisingly, because they just put out an album. It looked, on the outside, everything looked pretty, but of course, we know a lot of bands, that's not always true. And when they broke up, a lot of us were wondering, will we get to hear any of these amazing, creative musicians again? And Charlotte literally made her own recording studio and just started using YouTube to put out, and Patreon to put out a song a month. And I'm just there enamored and amazed going, here I am, stuck at home, forced out of my classroom physically over spring break, worrying if my school is safe to return to, only to be told, yeah, we're spending the rest of the school year at home. And then, of course, that fourth quarter of 2020 was what it was. Basically, give the kid the grade they had for their average grade for the whole year, no lower. Okay, whatevs. I took inspiration, whether it was my place to do so or not, from Charlotte's newer work she was doing solo. And I mentioned a couple of times this quarter, there's a line from a song, Masterpiece, that goes, successes or catastrophes are all brushstrokes in my masterpiece. And not only is Charlotte proven that right every time she releases a new song, a new album, organizes a club tour, keeps telling us American fans, I'm trying to get back to you and visit you as soon as I can because, you know, we adore and miss you. Then I can at least get off my patushka and try to live my dream of being the soul writer, of telling the story from my soul while helping people learn to do the same so we can set ourselves free from the chains that bind us, as the line from Legend of Dragoon goes. So Q3 is going to be busy. Q2 was amazing. This last year was more than I could have hoped. And a lot of it is because of the 600 or so of you. Thank you. Celebration video for the 500 and the 600 to come, maybe. Take care of yourself. I know you're worth it. Hey there, everybody. Please forgive the fan in the background and the noises with the air conditioner and the whatnots and the whoosits if you hear it. Anywho, I just wanted to give you a little quick update. I will not be hosting sprints this weekend for July the 7th or 8th as part of the Heart Breathings writing community. Cody the Cheesecake Man and I will be celebrating our wedding anniversary, 11 years this week. We will be back on Sunday, July the 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern for Soul Care Sundays in defense of fan fiction with guests. In between now and then, if you would like to watch a couple of my older videos around the channel, there is a playlist from last year where Cody and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary, elopement style, to the Virginia Beach area, Outer Banks area, including capturing us exchanging our renewed vows on the beach right after sunset. If you want to check out that playlist, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, take care of yourself. I know you're worth it.